the sole representative of Europe and the remaining hope of the West here. Please make welcome Team Dignitas. The boys in yellow and black make their way onto the stage, and for all intents and purposes, once again here on the massive international stage, they've proved that they are the ones that are going to go up against the Koreans.
I'm just having so much fun seeing especially Zelia walking in and cheering on the crowd. Especially he's the one who you could totally picture walking into the wrong direction after he enters the stage. But yeah, they are absolutely amazing. They played such a fantastic 2018, and they're exactly where they want to be. This is their chance to make it to the grand final now at the mid-season Brawl.
And I'm hoping they can do it. I did have a couple of worries. We had some moments where Wubby seemed a little bit off, even snitched to a degree. But as of yesterday, those concerns are completely out the window. This team seems alert.
I mean, just listen to the crowd as well. Like, there are so many people in that audience right now cheering for them.
It's so tough to play against a crowd, and I think that's part of the reason why Ballistics had so much trouble against Tempest Storm throughout this tournament, where they had, he's tricky. But some respect as well, right? But I feel like playing against the crowd is something that we've already seen is a challenge for the Korean teams, right? Everyone wants to see one of the big European favorites win this tournament.
Yeah.
And you could hear the chants, in the crowd, Dignitas, Dignitas, Dignitas. And for Tempest here, who's done it once already, they did it not in front of a crowd, but of course at the Monster Studio. Now we're here at DreamHack Summer. This is the live audience. They did it 2 years ago, but that time the crowd was with them in the finals. This time it's against them, and we're not even in the finals yet.
It's a best of 5, and we are going to be going to our first map, which will be Dragonshire between the two, picked by Tempest. What are your thoughts coming into this one, starting with you, Trick?
Dragonshire, a map for Dignitas that I actually love to see them play on. They have a great bottom control. They have one of the best top laners we have in Europe, Wubby in particular. If he's able to get that Dahaka, who has been a mainstay, it's going to be great for them. But there's also another hero that I think could be also wonderful in this battleground, Blaze. He was huge yesterday. That bunker has become a major contribution to a lot of wins in this tournament.
Yeah. To me, it's just amazing that we see Dragonshire again as the opening match here. Now, I said this yesterday, we had a 9-0 track record for Dignitas in the European League. And then yesterday, Tempest Storm, when they went into the series against them, they said, yes, we know you're strong here, but we can take you on your best map because we are believing in our own abilities in Dragonshire. And now we see the same thing happening again with Tempest. Dignitas played here so many times. They're so strong here, but Tempest just goes in and says, we're going to open this match up with a bang. We are strong here. We know that it's one of your preferred maps, but this is where we're going to start this. We're going to take it down right now.
I like what you say, Trick, about the Blaze, though. For me, it's like, oh, it's a 6v5 at that point. You've got Blaze and Bunker. Oh, it's 2 picks in 1, because Bunker has been that impactful at this tournament, Wolf.
It has been, and it's had such a short cooldown. His priority has risen throughout this tournament. It used to be right after the ban phase, you see that come out, you see the Bunker, but I think it's so impactful, and it needs to be appreciated here in this draft.
All right, let's get into it then. Game number 1, this is the lower bracket final. One of these teams is moving on to the grand final against Genji as Tempest goes up against Dignitas.
Genji will instantly be banned here, making sure to keep that away from Dame, as Tracer will also be the knockback here from Tempest. Pretty quick on the ban so far. Now, will Blaze be first pick worthy? No, Dignitas believes Hanzo is a way for them to open up the game here, and they'll move straight into the arrows.
And this is actually, once again, like really interesting to see from the draft patterns that are starting to really emerge. When we're looking at the beginning of the tournament, it was more so the Warriors that were targeted. We had a lot of target bans against Malfurion of very early picks. But in this setups, both of the team, they are just going straight for the very mobile heroes. They can have such a high impact of diving the backline and trying to get that kill against the squishies, Tracer and Genji. And outside of that, I feel the one thing that sticks out a little bit is that Dignitas actually didn't go into that Malfurion first pick that they normally prefer. And of course, Tempest, you guys already talked about Blaze, are immediately picking up one of the best offliners they have in the game.
Yeah, Tempest had priority on Malfurion, first pick 3 games in a row against Genji, and that was one of the things that I felt was a little bit worrisome for Tempest, because they were putting all their eggs in the Malfurion basket, trying to play reactionary drafts. They were getting bursted down because the healing output of Malfurion is a little bit slow. Rather than going for Malfurion as a safe pick here, just because it works well with almost any composition you could build, they go with Blaze, which counters burst damage, damage, can be a great presence in the top lane, can also hold that top shrine for so long to secure Dragon Knights, and they go with the global. So they're looking for map control, objective control with this draft.
What I find really interesting is what Tempest drafted in the second slot, going for Falstad here. So with them picking Blaze, they don't go for Dehaka, which means that the next global would be Falstad, and that allows now several types of play from them. First of all, if Dignitas takes Dehaka, they have a global available. They can match that. But in addition to it, Falstad is not going to be the top laner, so he's going to be in those rotations between mid and bot lane, meaning that there's always that threat against Dignitas that Falstad flies top and then sets up a gank together with Blaze to control the shrine or get a quick kill. So right with that first rotation, Tempest has already set the pace of the early game.
I want to know if they want to stay with that global presence. Do they actually want to ban out Dehaka here? As we know, Dignitas is willing to run it. We can have that in the top lane, and that would allow them to have the strength of the global play. Falstad really kind of controlling the entire map.
Yeah, I think the Dehaka ban would tell us a lot about Tempest's game plan. Everything that Calder just broke down is exactly what we can expect to see based on these first two picks. But if we see a ban here on another solo laner outside of the Dehaka, it means that they want to use Blaze and Falstad to bully the top lane more than they want to use it necessarily for objective control of the map. Or they may be banning out a solo laner they feel is strong at dealing with the camps. With the Jaina ban here, you could see that the theme of Tempest is not just around the objective, but it's also about countering burst damage here. Hanzo's through, you remove the Jaina, you've got Blaze for safety, and you just want to make sure that Falstad can survive these team fights.
Jaina can also burst down a bunker pretty quickly. She's fantastic if Garrosh gets a good engage and gets that flip off the Malfurion roots, the Jaina burst damage. It has been a theme in this tournament, and we've seen so many kills in early game leads just on the back of these compositions. So Tempest here with a very good ban, just trying to remove one of these combos.
With these bans of picks also, I'm looking at Tempest, and who gets on that Falstad? With Genji being banned out, Jaina not going to be able to come in with a flank, Tracer going diving deep to get on top of Falstad. He seems like he's actually really safe to pelt away and get off the Mighty Gust that he wants.
Yeah, it's tough to find another hero that can really get on top of the Falstad. One of the ones that comes to mind is Zeratul, of course, who's had a lot of ban priority in this tournament. Hasn't actually made it through very many drafts, but that's certainly something that Dignitas could look towards here. Ban comes in on the Johanna. This is going to help them control the 4-man rotation and the wave clear. Falstad's going to be very annoying in that regard because it could easily switch between bottom and mid, and then of course, as you guys discussed already, can help contest that top shrine. So removing that is going to be not only impactful in the 4-man because of wave clear, but also is one of the soft counters to Hanzo with the blind.
Also makes it much easier for Garrosh to control that front line and get the picks that he wants. Johanna just being so annoying at preventing that from happening with that Iron Skin coming out. Tempest now have to think about their tank play. We've had a decent amount of ETC play from Sign in the past. Wouldn't mind seeing that picked up. It's helpful against Garrosh. And one that hasn't been picked too often in the tournament, but still a strong contender that you have to think about, Anubarak can be wonderful against a Garrosh with that Burrow charge to get out of the pick that comes his way and the control with the Cocoon.
Especially when we're thinking about the support, for example. You mentioned Anubarak, and we have seen teams use that together with Stuko for Silence. Now Tempest goes a different direction. They have Karazim, great for the single target damage here. They have Li Ming with that too. I just want to highlight that the series that we saw in the group stage between these two was not only insanely close, but at the same time, it was a completely different style of drafting as well, which just showcases again how the teams were trying to hide some of those meta strategies and how the meta since then already has evolved, because it was the first time that the regions have clashed and everyone took a lot of lessons from it.
It feels especially evident here with the Karazim pick as well, that especially what we saw yesterday from that Karazim, it had so much power, not only to be able to reinforce the front line, but just find angles of attacks that wouldn't necessarily be useful otherwise because of the dash ability.
Yeah, and also it's, I think, again, somewhat of a deterrent towards aggressive dive play from like a hero such as Zeratul that we were mentioning earlier. If you really want to have that protection of the backline, protection of the Falstad, we've seen Wind Tunnel is super meta right now in this tournament, so that's another deterrent for dive. You can keep your backline alive and safe. And that Dehaka you guys mentioned earlier is going to come in here. I think it's a smart choice to match the global Falstad, or you're going to have really big problems controlling the Dragon Knight itself.
What I find really interesting is that if you're looking towards Tempest, what they're currently doing here, every single hero has an escape tool or a gap closer. Every single one of them. So not only is it going to be very difficult to take them down, but at the same time, as we heard from Wolf, you have the ability to just jump on a target quite easily. Karazim can go in and chasing. You have Blaze for a setup with stuns. So there's a lot of flexibility here. And Muradin adds to that too. You have on every hero a tool to engage or disengage depending on the situation.
I agree. I mean, the ability to dive is very similar to what we saw against Genji yesterday when Tempest played against him, and we saw 2 targets deleted instantly.
Yep.
This kind of looks like that draft there. This looks really strong for Tempest.
I think they have got a really good 4-man as well. I think Dignitas has the better one in that regard, but I think Tempest one's still decent. The Dahaka comes through as kind of a deterrent for the global.
Yeah.
But when I look at this draft for Tempest, I feel like the Dragon Knight's always going to be in their hands.
It's time for predictions, Wolf, starting with you.
Well, I got this. I brought this with me, and
Oh no. Oh no.
I'm gonna have to go with Tempest. I'm gonna have to go with the best support in the world, Hyde.
There you go.
And I think they're gonna take this series. When the only 2 times Korea hasn't won an international event, I wasn't there. Guess what? I'm here today, and I go with Tempest.
Bold move.
Bold move indeed.
Their mascot is a wolf.
The jacket looks good on Wolf. It really does. It almost sold me on it, but I want a Korea versus EU finals. I think Dignitas has a great draft here. They have the ability to force fights with Garrosh. I'm going to go with them. Dignitas for the win.
Okay. The crowd pops.
So I certainly hope that the jacket is going to keep Wolf warm when the cold reality sets in that Tempest is losing this series, because Dignitas is going to win game number 1.
And again,
That was good.
That was good.
and would it be a prediction for me for a start of a series with Dignitas?
Let me guess.
Oh, where are we going to go? I'm going to go with Dignitas as well to see if they can take the first game of this series. That's right. So let's see what you guys think at home as well, with the 71% going over to Team Dignitas to start things off, and it keeps going up. So let's head over to our commentary team to bring you our first game here of this best of 5. Gilly and Jay Howe, what do you think?
Wait, so all we have to do is somehow make Wolf get lost in travel in order to make sure that Korea doesn't win our international event every time?
I haven't even thought about that. That's a fantastic idea.
Think about it.
Please don't. I travel a long way to these things, and it's already tough enough.
We're happy to have you.
Just take a detour.
I'll pick you up at the airport.
There you go.
I might just get an Uber.
Well, thank you very much, guys. Take it away for game number 1.
Thank you, Calaris. Jay Howe, it has been a full tournament of meta shifts and scrim results, actual match results since these 2 teams faced off, and I'm expecting a much different, a much closer series.
Yeah, I think Dignitas started to find their rhythm a little bit as we got further into this tournament. They seem to be finding it here on the stage as well.
Oh yeah, they've definitely got the crowd behind them, but let's introduce the Korean team and the 2016 DreamHack Sweden victors. Good playing Blaze Dami on Falstad, Lockdown playing Li Ming, Hyde on Karzim, and Sign playing Murden. Let's hear it for Tempest.
On the right side, the proverbial hometown favorites here. It's going to be Poik on Hanzo, JPL on Garage, Zelia going to be playing Malfury, and Snitch on Phoenix, Wubby on Dahaka. Give it up for Dignitas.
A lot of European regional wins for Team Dignitas, but one thing that continues to elude this team is an international tournament win. They have taken second at a BlizzCon. They fell to Method at the BlizzCon last year, Team Expert as they were then. They have gotten so close so many times. Second place at the mid-season Brawl last year, but still they have not been able to get a win at a fully international event. We're gonna see today if they can pull it off.
Close so many times, and speaking of close, Lockdown a little bit too close for comfort as Snitch goes in with the rest of Dignitas that's in that bot lane, and threatening there was we see Sign. He's going to hang out here, see if he gets tossed over by JPL.
I think we witnessed the Korean Falstad starter. It's so important right before the gates open that we get a little Falstad dancing going on with the pirate skin.
Always my favorite.
Yes.
Always a good
Over
time.
again.
Well, as the 1 minute mark hits, both teams prioritizing their siege camp, and justifiably so, and we'll see who deals with that. I mean, you look at wave clear on the side of Dignitas, it seems strong, especially once Hanzo picks up level 4. For Li Ming and Falstad picks up at level 7. Li Ming has to be a little bit more efficient with her skill shots to try and win out on that. So we'll see how this plays out, especially in this bot lane. As you can see, Gilly, Tempest, they are lurking at every corner, rotating between these lanes, trying to find an opportunity, because if they can get any type of lockdown from Sign, well, Lockdown and team will instantly capitalize on that.
Yeah, when you have an Iron Skin, Karzim, and then Falstad to follow up with that too, having the slow of the hammering, very quick to be able to get those kills, but we can't forget that Team Dignitas could do the same, and having that Garrosh and his ability to throw someone back, and then the lockdown, the crowd control that Team Dignitas has. We may see a switch and a shift into where the landing is going to be, and we're starting to see that already as Tempest fly Dami up to help make sure that Good can keep a hold of the shrine, with Snitch making a rotation up toward top.
Well, we've got more of a rotation. Wubby, he's going to have a tough time. He's going to use his essence, see if he has his Dark Swarm to pass through. He does not in the rotation up. That's going to be first blood here for Tempest. You know, Gilly, it looked like Dignitas did their homework expecting that rotation as Snitch was hiding around. I don't think they were expecting the rest of Tempest to show up, though.
Tempest was committed to getting that kill, and to get it, they did. Now, Dahaka will be back up pretty soon, but we'll see if Tempest want to eventually keep having Falstad toward the top, since that will be the global once he picks up 7, and you get Boomerang from there, or if they want to continue to have him in the rotations between mid and bot so they can try to stack up that season marksman even faster.
Well, one thing we know from Tempest and one thing we know from Sign in particular is the aggression, Gilly. And speaking of aggression, he also went that stacking level 1, so needing to hit those Storm Bolts to get more value out of that talent, giving that infinite stacking there on that damage. Unable to connect there, but something to keep in mind as this game goes on. Murd definitely looking to be aggressive there. Yeah,
that's been a consistent factor for Sign. And something else that's been very consistent for Dragonshire throughout this tournament is a pretty slow start to the game. And we've already seen 1 kill. We may see more. JPL's going to rotate up here toward the top. Dami and good here. Sign could jump in if he wants to get with a Storm Bolt, but seeing Snitch, Team Dignitas are reacting accordingly to Tempest this time, making sure they can keep Wubby alive.
They are in the rotation again from Tempest. It seems like Dignitas realizes this. They've made the adjustment, obviously giving up that 1 kill, but now it looks like they might have found Sign here in that rotation. Roots for Zelia, they're trying to deal with Hyde, so not enough follow-up just yet. And you got to think about this team with Dignitas. A lot of it is that consistent, that sustained damage between the Hanzo and the Phoenix early game before they start to pick up getting that bonus damage or that extra damage from Hanzo as he completes that scatter arrow quest and eventually tries to set things up.
Hyde had a dash to his ally. Later on, once we see the teams start to converge together, try to get more of those kills, the big deal is going to be seeing, can Team Dignitas with the Warlords challenge, with the drag and the isolations from there, and of course the Roots, maybe even a Twilight Dream from Xylia, can they keep a stun lock in place so that whoever does come under fire from Tempest can't hop into the bunker or be able to potentially even put the bunker down or into Avatar dash away. It's whether or not all of the escape abilities that the panel talked about from Tempest can even come online with all of the stun lock that Dignitas will have.
We can see right now both shrines here momentarily captured by Tempest and Dignitas responding in that mid lane. I just wonder, we've seen the use of the Falstad Global, Gilly, going up to that top lane. At what point will Dignitas be willing to commit otherwise with their Dahaka maybe to that bottom lane, pick a fight of their own as they look to reclaim control here of the top shrine?
I thought it might be here, and we may see it yet. Azalea gets back, but knowing that the Giants are going to be in bottom, up in top, the Bruisers are in favor of Team Dignitas. They can push that out, push back the Blaze, then they know. But instead, Falstad flying to the bottom to put some harassment toward Poik, forces them to natural agility over the wall. Tempest trying to get the most out of these Giants. And with Dignitas instead rotating up to the top, seeing if they can gank Good. Good's a hard one to gank. It is sometimes possible, but he has shown himself to be a very capable solo laner for Tempest. I think that's one of the big reasons why we've seen Tempest have the level of success that we've seen from them at this event.
I agree with you. I mean, we know they know how to team fight. There is no doubt about it. One of the best in the world. But when they start to implement some more of those macro strategies and things of that nature, it definitely helps.
Normal.
Dark Swarm has been used, not able to get through there, pass by. Essence is going to be used. There's going to be the lightning rod going down. Wubby should be fine as minions are starting to get cleared up, so those tower shots will add a little bit of defense here.
Wubby, of course, also a generally difficult guy to gank in that lane, and with his Dahaka, especially the movement speed, the essence which he used there. Though Wubby has had a more difficult tournament, seeing him do well and be able to spot out when those situations are coming in is very good for Team Dignitas, and is a welcome sign knowing that Team Dignitas, the last time they faced Tempest in this tournament, yes, it was a close series as Kaldor said, but it was still a 0-2, make no mistake.
Well, level 10 here for both teams is Li Ming waiting to see what she will pick, whether it will be the Disintegrate or that Wave of Force, and it will be the Disintegrate, so looking to burst through some of that damage. Everything else pretty standard across the board, but Malfurion, sometimes we see things, Tranquility or the Twilight Dream are going to be that. Also, Kerosene still holding on to his, Gilly.
Right, so there is a couple of different options here as we see, oh, well done, Tommy, that was scary. Could be a Gust with a 7-sided strike isolation. We've seen a lot of European teams themselves try to run that strategy. Or we could see a Palm as a way of making sure to stop whatever burst capabilities come in. The concerted effort of Sign and Dami once again back up toward the top, hoping to get this kill on Wubby. This time, though, Sloan and Jet Propulsion dodged by Wubby, but they'll gust him back. But now Dignitas is here to fight.
And they have allies, and they are putting the damage on. Twilight Dream's going to be used on Murden, as is the taunt. Dahaka goes down, but they trade off there for Murden. They're looking for more. Good, trying to get out of here. Going to dodge the Groundbreaker, and we've got a 1-for-1 in that top lane.
1-for-1 trade. Bottom lane is going to be picked up the shrine there by Hanzo. And Dami's just going to get the trade on the shrines before going back to heal up. So no Dragon Knight secured from either side, certified by either one, as we're still going to see them try to rotate around and make that happen. More kills, but we're starting to see the fireworks in this game.
Poik, I don't know if he has the agility. He does, but it is a second too late. Wubby comes in with the isolation, gets the drag on there, but Hyde able to get the heal. We have Dami joining the party as well. No gust needed, no gust available just yet.
That was well done. You're silenced and slowed for 3 seconds, but you actually have the 6 seconds where your vision radius is lowered when you have that isolation on you. So the team has to be concerted and coordinated and trying to call out where they need to be going from that. And using the isolation, having that down, is maybe something that Tempest can take advantage of here. They're going to start, they have both of the shrines. Knowing that forces positioning of Dignitas, but that all of Dignitas are on the board, they're just using this to get something else on the table, that being their giants and their bruisers. They're looking for a power play here, J-How.
Yeah, they're going to start to paint this map blue. I just wonder if they'll make that rotation towards that bottom and really put the heavy pressure down there. Going against the Hanzo and a Phoenix, sometimes we see teams, they don't have enough firepower to deal with that type of push. But when you have a Phoenix and a Hanzo, it makes it a lot easier to deal with that. And there is no assistance there. But we see Tempest, they're rotating down here, Gilly.
Yeah, and 2 people are on the bruisers. Everyone okay, safe for the moment. But the shrines held, Karazim starting to rotate. Dignitas needs to take someone into the mid. There's no one top to stop this. Phoenix is going to be there versus the Karazim. It certifies that no Dragon Knight just yet, but this is tense times for Dignitas.
Starting to soften him up, forcing the warp out, and it looks like this might be Tempest picking up the first DK, and it will be, as Tempest starting to gain control here as 13 picked up, and the threat very much real there as Hyde. We've talked about him all tournament long being the dominant force that he is there. He's playing a little bit of an assassin role as well.
He truly is very likely the best support in the world, and he's going to show it here. 7-sided strike. Nice Dragon's Arrow buys some time for Wubby. Now this may have been an overstep as Li Ming goes down to a Twilight Dream.
Somebody got the boot in. Here's JPL's like, ordered and delivered, here I am. But needless to say, the DK is still available here in the mid lane, getting some damage in, but with Li Ming down and not a lot of protection otherwise, it's just going to be more of a poke-oriented DK as he'll rotate down to the bottom, seeing if he can soften up that bottom lane. But we've got Hyde, he's going to dash on back. Taunt actually whiffed.
Lovely job there by Hyde, but also the rotation from Sign, or else that very likely could have been a dead Karazim. Everyone else starting to rotate down and defend the Dragon Knight, so potentially not having the follow-up damage from there, but still scary times nonetheless.
Well, slight experience lead here for Tempest as we reach another calmer point of this game, as we'll see if we can find another pick, find another rotation, because Tempest is always looking for it. You can actually see on the minimap there, Murden sniffing out, seeing if there's an opportunity, but the vision, of course, keeping an eye on things like that. Lockdown just knows that one Stormbolt lands, that is a full Li Ming combo that he will try and eliminate somebody with instantly. As you can see, Dignitas, they're trying to turn the pace a little bit here, Gilly. Finally, our first team focusing on this bottom night camp.
Yeah, with that Hanzo, Dignitas are hoping that they can get something done, but more importantly, force back Team Tempest so that Tempest can't set this map so that when they get 16, they get an automatic Dragon Knight. They've already sustained some damage toward their towers in every single lane. Another Dragon Knight for Tempest, especially if Dignitas doesn't have 16 to try to defend it as well, could be disastrous for Dignitas and their presence on this battleground. So having some mercenary camps that force back Tempest allows them to rotate around, maybe look for a pick if they can to catch back up in experience, but if they can't get that, just try to soak back up towards 16.
You know, one thing I'm surprised about, because sometimes Falstad has a little bit of difficulty on this lane, but because of the flexibility that they've had, Falstad actually sitting on 33 marksman stacks, which is actually pretty good for 11 minutes in on Dragonshire. So he is becoming more of a force as this game goes on. I was looking at some of the damage he did because he has Giant Killer, but when he was going 1v1 versus Wubby, I was like, this is not a favorable trade. And so as that continues to ramp up, you can see the effect that Falstad will have.
Yeah, there was so much Falstad play in Korea throughout part 2 that I feel like players like Dami, like Reset especially, got so good at making sure that they know exactly where everyone is and the communication around that, so that this traditionally very vulnerable laner can not be ganked from the opposing team. And Dami has been able to show that now, fully suited into that global role toward the top. But Team Dignitas now, they have 16. They're feeling a lot more confident. We're gonna have Shrines activating in just a few seconds, so let's see what happens.
You just gotta wonder, if you're Poik on that Hanzo, you're like, guys, can the fight happen maybe in the bottom lane? I'd like to get some interaction here. We've seen the long distance Dragon Arrows, but we haven't seen a lot of Hanzo. And Tempest has made sure that they're fighting in other ways, looking for those ganks, and they're not gonna get a gank here because we're gonna get a little bit of vision as the Stormbolt comes out in return. We'll see if Dignitas can find an opportunity.
I love the positioning of Tempest too, because they keep an eye on this mid lane and keep control of that, so that Falstad is a lot safer in his laning here. Look at this setup. This concave is gorgeous. Team Dignitas cannot go and join back up, but now Daka coming in. Dragon's Arrow is wide.
Falstad, though, they got to be careful that Falstad, he's about to take down that top fort, and if he does, he might come in for that Gust. We've seen aggressive Gust in this game, but I think when there's a Garrosh on the other side, a Gust into an entire team and a taunt might not be what you're looking for. So I'm curious when we'll see these teams start to pull these triggers, make the more aggressive plays, because right now, Gilly, the pace has been barely controlled by Tempest, but it hasn't necessarily exploded the way that we anticipated.
And that is the big difference of Tempest this year, this event, versus every other year that we've seen. They have always been that team-fighting team, but this macro play, these forcing of rotations from Dignitas have been phenomenal all tournament long, and it feels like they continue to ramp up just like the other teams that have ramped up throughout this event. This truly is one of the best teams in the entire world. They've proven it by making it to this point. And they're proving it here.
Poik has done a really good job on these scatter arrows. The minute he gets vision, he is threatening so much. You can see the blinks by Li Ming, trying to make sure not to take any unnecessary damage. Xaylia, though, walking right up to that bush, very close to danger. Sign lurking there, waiting, looking for an opportunity of his own as Lockdown continues to put some poke out. You can see that these teams, they're starting to try and find opportunities, Gilly. They're not backing down as much as they were in the early part of the game.
Full level lead for Tempest, but still a ways out until 20 gives Dignitas time to figure this puzzle out. Webby is sent to the top, Phoenix hovering as Snitch seeing what he can get, but Dami, as always, playing very safely in that lane.
If you're on the side of Dignitas, you understand, as you mentioned just a moment ago, is that you are a level down. Speaking of level down, that's going to be 7-sided strike. You are now one member down as Garrosh steps in there, and that's the reason you cannot be isolated. Xaylia tries to hit the Twilight Dream, does not go off, ends up falling instead, and now Tempest with no Ford in the top lane, Gilly, they're looking for more. Sign going in aggressively.
ISO missed too. Sign has been body blocking, but Webby gets the turnaround with the drag too. Trying to follow that up, but Sign falling fairly low in health and not willing to devote his avatar now. Snitch will force them back, but this likely is going to be a Tempest Dragon Knight, though Webby in the bottom scares away Lockdown, but it's far too perilous being out here. Still 20 seconds left until Malfurion's back on the board, and Dignitas have every single player back.
Gilly, with so many structures on the map, the minute this DK comes out, the threat of 20 is very much going to be there as Poik eats quite a bit of damage, but with the forts going down, it'll start to mount towards 20 very rapidly, and you'll be facing against the DK. Yes, it is a little bit early, but the level 20 threat as well is very much a threat, and Tempest, if they can get that one pick with that full blow up and get resets for Lockdown and Hyde, or excuse me, Lockdown and Dami, then this might be lights out. So Dignitas got to be careful with their positioning.
You are very, very right. This is a scary moment for Team Dignitas, but they have pretty good poke and they have good zoning with the Garrosh too. So for Team Dignitas, likely potentially to lose a keep here. There's still towers to go through, but they have this poke here. Let's see how much Tempest can get done with this. It's a lot more about kills. That's why we see Sign stepping out around, also making sure to anchor though, so that there are no flanks, no desperate attempts for a team fight, while Blaze, who has the bunker, is inside this Dragon Knight.
Right now, they're poking with Li Ming and the Dragon Knight, respecting the damage of a Hanzo, as Phoenix making his way down as well. Dragon Knight moving forward, gets the kickback before the warp goes off. Now the keep under assault, starting to fall here. Still a little bit of time left on this DK. It looks like keep number one gonna go down.
Transgression is the pickup for Karazim. Falstad holding. But we have seen so many wind tunnels at this event. I would not be surprised at all, especially with the 7-sided strike. Now Transgression, the 11 strikes, if we see that yet again. Dignitas now at 19, they lose a keep. They're going to have catapults against them, but they did not lose the game.
Well, for Dignitas, they'll have the opportunity to get on even footing. They also have the global of Dahaka. Sometimes we'll see that rotation between that bot top lane. And with that fort pushed out, the positioning of Wubby, which we've seen has been a point of interest for Tempest, is very, very far back for him. You can actually see him on the minimap. He cannot push that lane out. He basically has to wait for any opportunities. That's why you see him right on the edge of that bridge. And then in the bot lane, when we start to see the rotation of the catapults and the camps, Dignitas will see the rotation and how they can handle that, and whether they can use that Dahaka global to their advantage.
Yeah, I think we're seeing Falstad hold on to that 20, trying to figure out if we're going to see an Apex Predator from Dahaka. It allows him to make sure that he can keep up with that global if that huge cooldown reduction is in play for Team Dignitas. But otherwise, maybe some isolation with some wind tunnel, or potentially if they get into an in-game situation and have that wind tunnel on the core. Right now though, Tempest has the whole map at their disposal, and they've taken all of the aggressive camps. They have a huge push in both top and in bottom. Bottom, of course, already having those catapults too is something that Dignitas has to deal with. And with that, it just keeps Dignitas back so that Tempest have a lot more of a favor on this battleground, on Dragonshire, as we approach the next Shrine phase. Yes, Team Dignitas will have level 20. They'll have their Storm Tier talents, but they're gonna have to fight into the vision that Tempest have on this map.
You bring up an excellent point, and the fact that they took the camps on the other side and now they have this, they can definitely use that rotational control I was talking about, because the catapults alone are enough to continue to push out that bot lane. And you can see the timing here, waiting towards that Shrine phase to make sure they can have an advantage when it comes to the rotations in that. And Tempest doing a very good job, Gilly, as we talked about all game, controlling the rotations of Dignitas. Is JPL gonna eat some damage there from lockdown on Li Ming. You can see all of Dignitas starting to posture forward just a little bit more, but as you said, they have to be very wary of that Falstad if he flies down.
For now, Falstad is continuing to push that top. Still hasn't decided, but it's not Apex Predator. Contagion is the choice for Wubby.
Right now, again, Dami with that aggressive poke against Wubby, sitting around 48, 49 stacks on Season Marksman. The one lightning rod can go in. Wubby, just the prime target there is that mage, providing that spell armor, making sure his Dark Storm can get a little bit more clear there. Again, once he clears this up though, Gilly, see if Wubby might use that Brush Stalker down and see if he can find an opportunity. But you can see on the map, Tempest, they're rotating in all lanes, forcing out mid, forcing out top, and controlling that vision.
Dami is super aggressive here on the Death Bridge. But the rest of Dignitas hanging out. This is feels like a standstill. Taunt was used there as Good goes in, bunker down. Flight in and the gust after.
Yeah, no taunt available, so now Wubby, he's stuck on the inside. We see the Dragon Arrow. Point gets to safety using that agility, but Malfurion, we have the trade. Li Ming, Malfurion is down, and now Sign again, hide with the dash over with the cleansing touch, keeping them alive, but right now Tempest is split, Gilly. They're looking to come in from both sides.
That perfect agility was used for more of the escape for Poik, but now he's in a terrible spot, but Hyde separated from the rest. Sign being grouped on, Snitch chasing in after Hyde, who dives into Good. Good dives in, they take out Hanzo, and a 7-sided strike starts to rip through Team Dignitas.
And the 7-sided strike was used to dodge the salvo as well. A perfect play as 3 members go down on the side of Dignitas, and they are not done yet as Dami goes in, and there is going to be the 4th member of, well, excuse me, Stitch is like, hold on a second, I've got myself an extra shield, but is it enough?
It just is.
The bunker!
Tempest take down 3, take down 4. There's only Dahaka left, and he's gonna stall this out as best he can. But with the keep already down, a 21-minute Dragon Knight, Tempest are headed toward core.
Yeah, Wubby put down the spray. He knows the beginning of the end is imminent as the DK going in, and with no damage anywhere near as 20 seconds left before Hanzo, Wubby's just gonna hang out, and this should be the victory march for Tempest here in game number 1.
Zalia's back, and we know Wubby is here too. Dodge on the Twilight Dream. You're ridiculous high. Dami comes in for the final blow towards Zalia, but that Dragon Knight is all she wrote in this game as Team Tempest will go up 1-0 in this best of 5 over Europe's finest.
Gilly, we waited for quite some time before we got that aggressive gust, and I'd say that was the perfect time for Tempest. And that was enough to close out the game. We saw a little bit of playmaking potential there by Poik, but unable to survive in the long run, and just way too much firepower in the later part of that game. But Hyde using that 7-sided strike, versus that salvo. It did damage, and it kept him from taking any bit of damage. That was a clutch play to keep him alive.
That and the Twilight Dream, dodging all of that hide has been a monster this whole tournament and a big reason for the success of Tempest. But as you know, on Dragonshire, with the rotations and the personal playmaking that's possible, the skirmishes, everyone has to be on point, and Tempest have proven just how strong they have been this entire mid-season brawl.
Dignitas so strong on that battleground, but Tempest showing they have a refined approach to how they're playing here. Before we talk any further, we're going to send it back to the panel so they can break down game number 1.
That's right, thank you. Strong control coming out from Tempest here in the first game in this best of 5. And I think using the name good is an understatement. Those last couple of plays that he pulled out on the Blaze there, we've been looking at Blaze a lot throughout this tournament, but that was far more than good.
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic what he pulled off there. So absolutely incredible how they closed out that game. And especially how they continued to chase down Hanzo. That was so strong with a perfect agility coming in on 20. He was just hopping all over the place, but it didn't matter. They still chased him down, got the jet propulsion off, took him down there. That was fantastic play towards the end from Tempest. It was the entire game, actually.
Yeah, then into the bunker to get Phoenix at the end. Wolf, what do you have for us, though, from that game?
Okay, I've got 2 little replays I want to show you guys. Mostly I want to talk about, if we pause it really quick here, I want to talk about the commitment to the top lane that we saw Tempest constantly trying to get kills on the Wilby. It was very difficult to do. As we roll forward, I want to talk about Poik as well, who's been down here actually making a huge impact with his arrows in this early game. Wilby dodges this right. Gust comes through. Huge commitment from Tempest, but they stay too long as we see the rotations through. We see a lot of heroics committed here. Drag from Wilby so perfect here, then the silence comes through, the taunt. But watch this arrow. This arrow comes up right now, and you can see, where's Poik? He's way down here, but he's still making a huge impact as a global, basically, in this situation where, in this game, the solo lane actually became Li Ming versus Hanzo with the rotations of Tempest. He's trying to make an impact. Now, if you roll it forward, you see Dami does not get hit. Had he been hit here, this could have been way better for Dignitas. So I just want to talk about, Poik's impact in this early game before the game went away from Dignitas. We're going to show another replay where this actually comes into play once again. So again, pause it. Look at this. We're going to see the burrow. He burrows to avoid the 7 side. Huge commitment from Tempest. Rotation's coming up here right now for Dignitas, but not only the rotation, but again, this arrow at distance. So roll it forward here, and you'll see where the heals coming through from the passive here from Wubby. He's able to get away here. He's able to do Dark Swarm. Everyone's stunned by the arrow. Bunker comes down, but it doesn't matter. It's just too tough to get away here. And again, Tempest overextends, not respecting Dignitas' ability to rotate quickly. Wubby, his ability to disengage on Dahaka, and also just that impact that Poik has when the solo lane becomes Li Ming versus Hanzo in a weird way because of the rotations of Tempest, how much impact that arrow can have long range.
So important that it is a long range arrow as well, because if he's any closer to that fight, that stun lasts a whole lot shorter.
But it really seemed to be the major strategy for Dignitas. After that second stun that Wolf showed you guys there, Tempest started to spread out after every engage and trying to force a fight. They realized they are trying to get the counter-reactive play here by having our momentum stopped by getting a Dragon's Arrow. And they never got it again after that. Tempest responded way too quickly, and Dignitas needed a little bit more than just that one trump card.
Feels like overall Dignitas kind of just got played in that game with the control from the map from Tempest there.
Yeah, and I have to also say that I feel in terms of drafting, we have to start addressing Blaze a lot more heavily.
Oh yeah.
He's now 10-0